Hi everybody. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about two different approaches to instruction. We're going to talk a little bit about direct instruction versus inquiry-based instruction. As I'm writing inquiry-based instruction, think about what you know about the word inquiry. Just pause the video for a second and talk to your elbow partner about what are some words that you associate with the word inquiry. What are some other words that are similar to that word? These two different ways of instructing are what I would think about as being extreme ends of a spectrum of instructing. With direct instruction, it is a very traditional way of instructing. So think about the way that you learned in school. When your teachers were teaching you things, what were some of the methods that they used? How did they typically teach you? I'm about to teach you something in a really direct instruction way. Okay, you ready? One way of addressing this issue, this lack of access, is to have hand controls. The hand controls are used in such a way that if you push forward on the hand control, then that will allow the vehicle to brake. And if you push down on the hand control, that will allow the vehicle to go forward, to accelerate. Thinking about the way that I just taught you, did I give you any clues as to what I was talking to you about? How did I teach you? Did I show you any visuals? You probably noticed I mostly just talk to you. I mostly just lecture. So under direct instruction, I'm going to put often lecture-based and it's a transfer of what the teacher considers to be important knowledge or skills from the teacher to the students. So the teacher is telling the students, this is important, you need to know this, and then transferring that information. This, as you probably recognize, is a very traditional way of teaching. So many people feel this is what a lot of people know about teaching. This is maybe their what they experience as students, and maybe a way that they feel comfortable with themselves when they plan a lesson. Let's talk about an inquiry-based approach. In an inquiry-based approach to instruction, this is not considered to be just transfer of the teacher identifying the important knowledge and information and then telling students that. This is more around questioning. It's about the students exploring an idea, the students investigating an idea, and the students constructing meaning, making meaning for themselves using their connections that they can make with the topic that they're investigating. Let's consider an inquiry-based approach to the hand control topic. If you did not have access, if you did not have the use of your legs or your feet, what would be challenging about driving? Go ahead and talk to a neighbor near you about that. What are some ways that you could make it possible for yourself to drive utilizing a traditional car if you couldn't use your legs or feet? Again, talk to someone near you. What are some ideas that come to mind? How could you overcome that limitation? What are some ideas that you have that you could share? Okay, so those questions I just posed to you and allowing you to talk with each other about your experience and your ideas of how you could approach this problem. This is a more inquiry-based approach to the topic of hand controls, at least to broaching that topic and beginning that conversation. It is important, since the inquiry-based instruction is guided by questions that the teacher often poses to students that they consider and then maybe discuss with other students. Maybe look at resources that interest them to find some answers, come back, report what they found, and engage in that conversation with the teacher or with the whole class or with other students. It's really important to have really good questions to pose for students for this inquiry-based approach. It's really important to carve out time and teach students the skills that they need to be able to converse, to be able to share their ideas verbally, to share their ideas maybe in visual ways, to share their ideas and understandings in a variety of different ways. It would also be important to teach them to be able to interact with other students and share their ideas with each other, because in this way of approaching learning, it is constructing meaning together with other people. So if they're not as familiar with engaging in those kinds of conversations or interacting that way socially, we might need to teach them how to do that and practice that. So that's the way that we're going to try to shape this course and the way that we engage these youth students in our class here in learning and thinking about the ideas about STEM, because we want to model this inquiry approach to learning and practice that. The textbooks that we've chosen are based on cognitively guided instruction, or otherwise known as CGI. They also come from that perspective of inquiry-based learning. A belief that students know many things already they have insights about math and science based on their own experiences that they've had in the world around them, and that they will bring those things with them to class and connect those things that they already know with the new things that we are asking them to investigate in class about math and science. We know from learning that everything that we learn really needs to be connected to something that we've already learned before. Well, now I am going to show you what providing a little bit of direct instruction within the inquiry-based instruction can do if students who are considering a topic don't have very much background knowledge or very much context for the topic that we're discussing. Okay, so let me take you on a little field trip really quick. So this is a hand control in my husband's pickup truck. My husband has a spinal cord injury and can't use his lower body. And so he needs to drive with his hands and arms only. So this lever right here is a part of the hand control. If he pushes the lever forward, as I was discussing with you earlier, that is the brake and stops the vehicle or slows it down. And if he pushes the hand control down, then that is accelerate and move forward. In addition, another part of the hand control is the steering knob. And it's actually not legal for anyone who doesn't have a disability to utilize a steering knob like this for whatever reason in our state. But it helps him to have a good grip on the steering wheel and just be able to maneuver that more efficiently. So I just gave you an example of a context embedded lesson about hand controls. I gave you a visual about hand controls in an actual vehicle that belongs to my husband because of his spinal cord injury, and because of that reason it's part of my life and it's meaningful to me. It's a topic that I could talk about, but maybe other people around me may know very little about. So I, as a teacher, need to think about that, and my students who may have less background knowledge, less exposure, or less practice with a topic. And those are the times when I might need to provide a little bit more direct instruction. My main message that I hope that you're taking away is that for our course here at SMU, we are going to utilize primarily an inquiry-based approach. Where you're going to be exploring and investigating these ideas and making meaning for yourselves. And then we're going to come together at the end and reflect on that, and then draw conclusions and share insights with one another, so that the time and the learning can be the most meaningful possible for all learners involved. But I want to make sure that everybody understands and takes away that it is important to consider that there are moments when we should plan for direct instruction opportunities to make sure that our students have the language and vocabulary that they need to express their understandings to one another and their thoughts, the social skills that they need to be able to participate equitably in the discussions with other students and with the teacher, and the background knowledge that they need in order to make connections between learning that may have already happened or experiences that they've already had, and new information, new learning that is going to happen and about to happen in the classroom. So if students are missing those things, if they're missing that background knowledge, if they're missing the language that they need, if they're missing the social skills that they need, then an inquiry-based lesson and classroom setting may be difficult for those students to fully participate equitably. And in that case, their opportunity gap will broaden and expand, become greater, because they won't be able to access that new learning as well as they should be able to.